Chapter 2581. The Plan. Chapter 2581. The Plan. Subdivine Elixirs of the Second Tribulation. Technically, elixirs of this level could only be produced by a cultivator who had survived the second divine tribulation of the Great Path. But this was just in theory. In reality, not all alchemy masters of this realm necessarily had the ability to produce the subdivine elixir of the second divine tribulation. But at this moment, Shi Qiao had the elixir of the second divine tribulation in her possession, which Yi Futian had just given her. How could she not be shocked? There were only two top alchemy masters in Ziwei Segmentum, Yi Futian and Taoist monk Mu. However, the cultivation of Taoist monk Mu was only at the first level of the tribulation plane. So, who made these subdivine elixirs of the second tribulation? Shi Qiao's beautiful eyes fell on Yi Futian. Did you make them? After the medicinal materials from the goddess are made into elixirs, I will have someone deliver some of them to the West Imperial Palace. Or the West Imperial Palace can also send someone here to fetch it. Yi Futian did not respond to her question directly, but his words made all the cultivators from the West Imperial Palace tremble in their hearts. Was this evasion some silent acquiescence? So the cultivators in the Ziwei Segmentum were immune to sights of the divine tribulations of the Great Path? Was it something they grew accustomed to? Obviously, someone had already survived divine tribulation before that, which accounted for their nonchalance. When I fought with you many years ago, I had planned to stay in the Heavenly Mandate Academy to cultivate. But for so many years, it had never become a reality. Now, what do you think about me staying in Ziwei Imperial Palace to cultivate? Shi Qiao asked with a smile as she looked at Yi Futian. She was not joking. This was a real desire that she had. The cultivation environment of Ziwei Segmentum was pretty good, and there were also elixirs to help with the cultivation. More importantly, she wanted to see what was going on inside the Ziwei Imperial Palace now. Since the Ziwei Segmentum was freed from its imprisonment, and the news got back to the Divine Prefecture, all the forces in the Divine Prefecture had made preparations. However, there had been no movement in the Ziwei Segmentum for such a long time that they assumed it was because Ziwei Imperial Palace itself was still weak, and that they did not dare go to the Divine Mountain for revenge. Right now, all these forces figured Yi Futian and his people would temporarily stay put inside the Ziwei Segmentum and continue to strengthen themselves. Yi Futian, too, was cautious and did not dare to take any additional risks. How could the cultivators from top principalities in the Divine Prefecture know that the current situation in Ziwei Imperial Palace was so prosperous? They were mass-producing existences of Tribulation Plane. Was Yi Futian planning to create a camp of cultivators in the Tribulation Plane? If the goddess desires to do so, of course you can, Yi Futian responded. He didn't mind Shi Qiao cultivating here at all. Now that Ziwei Segmentum was enemy with all of the Divine Prefecture, West Imperial Palace was a rare ally and could provide them with lots of help. Of course I want to, but I am afraid I'm going to have to trouble you from time to time, said Shi Qiao with a smile. She was serious about staying. She turned to the cultivators from West Imperial Palace and said, "You guys take the elixirs back and let them know that I will be cultivating here for some years." Very well. These people nodded, not at all worried if something would happen to Shi Qiao while she was in Ziwei Segmentum. Even in the outside world, not many could touch Shi Qiao in her current realm of cultivation. The cultivators from the West Imperial Palace left, and Shi Qiao stayed behind. Yi Futian turned to look at the cultivator experiencing the tribulation, and saw it was Chen Yi. He who had inherited the Relic of Light for nearly 50 years, was finally beginning to experience the divine tribulation of the Great Path. Chen Yi's tribulation was an incredibly terrifying tribulation of light. Although everyone was getting used to seeing tribulations, especially after they had so many experiences in elixir tribulations, there were still many who paid close attention to Chen Yi's tribulation. As this particular tribulation descended, they could see that his was very powerful. Every cultivator would encounter a different kind of divine tribulation, as they were not all the same. However, Yi Futian was most eager to witness the birth of cultivators in the second divine tribulation, but he recognized that it would be a little difficult in the short run. Prior to this, The only cultivators in the first tribulation realm were Huajiyu, Taoist monk Mu, Morong Yu, and Emperor Shi. Taoist monk Mu was the one who had stayed in this realm the longest, followed by Emperor Shi. But their realm was not yet deep enough. After Chun Yi survived the divine tribulation of the Great Path, he continued to cultivate in seclusion. There were two in the tribulation plane among the four great protectors around Yi Futian, Blind Tai and Qin Yi. The qualities of the cultivators in Ziwei Imperial Palace were getting more powerful by the day, and now their strength was almost comparable to that of the ancient god clans. The ancient god clans possessed the inheritance of the great emperor, but in Ziwei Segmentum, the will of Ziwei the Great remained. The combat effectiveness of all the peak cultivators, aside from those who had survived the first divine tribulation, also included the Supreme Elder Lord Chun in the uppermost level, then Yi Futian himself. This kind of makeup was enough to collide head-on with the ancient god clans. But Yi Futian had no intention to stop there. He was not yet satisfied. The enemies of Ziwei Segmentum were not just one ancient god clan, but all 6 of them within the Divine Prefecture, as well as some other top forces in the Divine Prefecture. Therefore, they needed to be stronger. It seems that alchemy is far better than armor-making. Shi Qiao whispered. Those top alchemy masters were tremendously awesome. You can't think it's as simple as all that, Yi Futian replied. In Ziwei Imperial Palace, the people who have experienced the divine tribulation of the Great Path are all of the cultivators with extraordinary cultivation already. Even if they relied solely on themselves, they could pass over this hurdle on their own. The aid from the elixir was to make their foundation more stable and shorten the time it took. That's why we are seeing a series of tribulations in a short period of time. Blind Tai, Yang Wuxia, and Qin Yi were all very strong in their own right. The elixirs are produced by you, so whatever you say is right. Shi Qiao didn't refute him, but looked at Yi Futian with a smile. As a cultivator in the tribulation plane, who was also the goddess of West Imperial Palace, she looked like a little girl. There was some hero worship in those beautiful eyes of hers, which was rather deceptive. A character like her had a majestic authority all of her own, for she was an unattainable goddess to most. Goddess, cultivate as you please. I will have to get back to practice alchemy. Yi Futian deliberately avoided Shi Qiao's gaze. His figure flickered as he left. Watching Yi Futian's departing figure, Shi Qiao chuckled. Was it possible for this guy to feel embarrassed? Now that was something really interesting. After Qin Yi, there was another person who experienced the divine tribulation, and it was Hua Qingqing. To the cultivators of Ziwei Imperial Palace, she had always been shrouded in mystery. She was sisters with the palace lord's wife, Hua Jiyu, and she was not often out and about. Most of the time, she spent it with Hua Fenglu and Nanda Wenin, but her cultivation was astounding to the point of being fearsome. The seniors within Ziwei Imperial Palace knew that Hua Qingqing had accompanied the Buddha in cultivation. In the Western heavenly world, she was respected by the Buddha lords as a great Buddha herself. After Hua Qingqing, there was another cultivator who survived the divine tribulation, and by this time, it was already 3 years after Ziwei Imperial Palace broke out of its imprisonment. This time, the person who survived the tribulation was a pleasant surprise to Yi Futian, and he was the one person that Yi Futian looked forward to the most so far. Gu Donglu finally ushered in his divine tribulation of the Great Path. In the past 3 years, 5 cultivators had survived the divine tribulation. Most of them had something to do with the great emperors or figures on that level. Blind Tai had been instructed by the teacher, and later on inherited an imperial star. Gu Donglu had inherited from the demon monarch, and also inherited an imperial star at some point. Chun Yi inherited the light, and Hua Qingqing had accompanied the Buddha in his cultivation. Only Yang Wuxia was totally unexpected by everyone. For Ziwei Imperial Palace, it was a pleasant surprise, but it also demonstrated that this quiet man, who was not fond of showing off and kept an extremely low profile, was, in fact, incredibly talented. After Gu Donglu survived the divine tribulation of the Great Path, the number of people in the tribulation plane inside Ziwei Imperial Palace had reached double digits. Gu Donglu's tribulation had attracted many people to watch. People in Ziwei Imperial Palace knew that the palace lord had a special affection for this third senior brother of his, just like his second senior sister and the elder brother. As far as they knew, the palace lord had been cared for by these several senior brothers and sisters of his when he was young. They were very protective of him, and they had a deep affection for one another. This kind of feeling may not be something they could understand now, but the people in the imperial palace were a little envious. They would really like to see what Yi Futian was like as a young kid, but few people had that privileged experience. Gu Donglu stood above the starry sky as the last light of tribulation fell, his whole body radiant and sacred. His entire temperament had transformed. The aura that permeated from his body was already the aura of a powerful cultivator of the tribulation plane. He stood there quietly and no one disturbed him. Yi Futian was standing with a lot of other people, such as their elder brother and second senior sister. If our master sees this today, he will be very happy, their elder brother, Sword Saint, said with a smile. His eyes were full of happiness. He had seen these junior brothers in their growth. Yi Futian nodded. Definitely. Elder brother, after you experience the divine tribulation, when we see our master one day, he will be so pleased to know he has 3 such outstanding disciples, Zhuge Mingyue said with a small smile. For many years, the Sword Saint's cultivation was not inconsiderable, as he was already in the 9th realm of Renhuang. Although he was blessed with less natural talent, Yi Futian had guided him step by step and reshaped his talent with elixirs. He had received the best elixirs from the first batch back then, so he had been doing very well indeed. Not only him, but others like Yi Wuqian, Sword Master of Lihan, Dou Zhao and Xiaomuyu. None of them was weak in their cultivation. Without exception, they were either in Upper Renhuang or in the realm of Peak Renhuang. If the divine prefecture was not a constant threat, a few people from this group was enough to sweep through and lord over the 9 supreme regions of the original realm. I'm still not there yet, Sword Saint said. If Yu Sheng is here, Futian and Yu Sheng would make a peerless duo. Then, with the cultivators from Ziwei Segmentum, they could probably vanquish the forces below imperial level sooner rather than later. I am rather looking forward to what you have assessed. No one knows what is the situation with Yu Sheng's cultivation in the devil world, Zhuge Mingyue murmured. They had never worried about Yu Sheng. When the time was right, Yu Sheng would come to Yi Futian's side once again. In this world, Yu Sheng and Hua Jieyu were the closest people to Yi Futian. The disciples from the cottage could only be seconds after the two of them. Yu Sheng. Yi Futian thought of his brother and said with a smile, how could he be falling behind? The whole devil world must have heard of Yu Sheng's name by now. What plans do you have next? Continue to cultivate in retreat to improve your strength? Zhuge Mingyue asked. No. Yi Futian shook his head. It's been so many years already, and it's time to go out for a while. What is your first step? Asked Hua Jiyu. The first step would be sweeping through the original realm, Yi Futian said. The land of the original realm was once ruled by him, as he was known as the king of the original realm. It was the involvement of other major worlds that caused the chaos and disorder in the original realm. After so many years, the original realm was in need of reorganization. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2582, Deity Yi. Chapter 2582. Deity Yi. The resources in the former Void Realm, a part of the 9 supreme imperial realms, had been thoroughly looted. Everything had been turned inside out. The Dark World, the empty Divine Realm, and forces from the Divine Prefecture had not spared the lands of the 9 realms. Once the lands of the 9 realms had been plundered, in the following few decades, all the major worlds began to shift their focus on the new continents and relics that emerged in the original realm. Gradually, they started moving outward so that the lands of the 9 realms nowadays lived in the shadow of their former glory, now a barren wasteland. Ever since the Heavenly Mandate Academy was destroyed by the City Lord of Tianyan, and Heavenly Mandate was relocated to Ziwei Segmentum, the Heavenly Mandate Realm, and the Heavenly Mandate City began their inescapable decline. There were not many powerful cultivators in Heavenly Mandate City today, and the resources for cultivation were particularly lacking. Even if there were young people with outstanding talents, they would not get the nurturing they needed to develop their full potentials. The former site of the Heavenly Mandate Academy had long been nothing but ruins. People often came here to mourn and commemorate the glorious days of Heavenly Mandate. Back then, the Heavenly Mandate Academy ruled over the 9 realms, and Yi Futian was known as the king of the original realm. How mighty the Heavenly Mandate Academy was once, and who could have predicted that it would have become what it was now? Even today, people often came to the ruins of what was left of the Heavenly Mandate Academy and look at the ruins while remembering the past. At this time in the ruins, a group of people appeared. It seemed as if they were busy working on something in that location. Next to the ruins, there were some crowds scattered here and there. In one of them, there were an old man and a boy. The old man looked more than 50 years of age, while the young boy was about 15 or 16, still looking a little childish. "Grandson, this is the place I wanted to show you." The old man touched the boy's head and said with a smile, "Grandpa, isn't this the ruin? Why are we here?" The boy raised his head. His innocent eyes were filled with some confusion and curiosity. "Yes, it is a ruin here now. But before you were born, when I was still a boy, this was the most glorious holy land in the world." The old man looked at the ruins and spoke emotionally. He seemed to be remembering those glorious days. How they missed the Heavenly Mandate Academy of yore. The most glorious holy land in the world. The boy was a little puzzled. The Heavenly Mandate realm he knew was a chaotic world. He had no idea what the Heavenly Mandate realm was like at all before he was born. After all, when the Heavenly Mandate Academy was most prosperous was some 50 or 60 years ago. The Heavenly Mandate Academy and the Heavenly Mandate realm existed only in history. Looking back, he founded the Heavenly Mandate Academy to preach to the world and brought the most glorious era to the Heavenly Mandate realm. But those hateful foreign forces invaded us, which led to the destruction of Heavenly Mandate, so he had no choice but to leave. Now, no one knows if he's alive or dead. The old man looked at the ruins, and he was full of intense emotions. Once he was also a member of the academy, although he was just the most ordinary disciple on the peripheral. However, he was proud because he was part of something great. No matter when or where, he could always stand tall and tell others that he was a disciple of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. "You mean Deity Yi?" The boy thought of a name and whispered, "That's right. He is the deity Yi that you guys talked about." The old man said with a smile, "In the Heavenly Mandate realm, he is indeed a deity." A different kind of light lit up on the boy's face. Among the younger generations of the Heavenly Mandate realm, that legendary figure had been turned into a myth referred to by many as Deity Yi. "Grandpa, how is Deity Yi now?" the boy asked. "Deity Yi went to a place far away, and even Grandpa has no idea what happened to him." The old man looked up into the sky. He had witnessed with his own eyes that battle once upon a time, when all the powers from the upper worlds of the Divine Prefecture had encircled and suppressed them. Even Donghuang Imperial Palace, a ruling principality in the Divine Prefecture, had stood on the opposite side, so that there was nothing much that Yi Futian could do. A legend of their time was forced to leave Heavenly Mandate. "Will he come back?" the boy asked. "Probably not. Not anymore." The old man sighed silently in his heart. "Elder, who is the one that you call Deity Yi?" a voice asked. The old man looked to his side and saw several young people approaching. Their temperament was superb. The old man could tell with a simple glance that these 4 young people were unusual. Deity Yi is the title given to the former college chief of Heavenly Mandate Academy, Yi Futian. It was created by some youngsters in the later generations of the Heavenly Mandate realm. The old man asked, "And you are?" "Is that so?" The young man in the lead displayed a gentle smile and said, "Perhaps Deity Yi will come back." Before he spoke, a group of people in front had actually started rebuilding the structures. This sight caused the old man to frown. He walked up to look at them and asked, "What are you doing?" This was the old site of Heavenly Mandate Academy, and someone wanted to build other structures here? "Sir, please be patient," the young man next to him said. The old man looked at him again and continued, I know you are no ordinary common folk, but this place is the site of the Heavenly Mandate Academy founded by deity Yi. It has great significance to the people of Heavenly Mandate Realm. If you want to build a mansion, you can find some other place to do that. If you are building here, I'm afraid it will anger the entire Heavenly Mandate Realm. Is that so? The young man asked with a smile. Deity Yi held such a lofty position in Heavenly Mandate Realm? Without question, the old man's eyes were solemn. Then there was even more reason to rebuild here. The young man said with a smile, looking in front of him. The old man's expression was getting unfriendly as he said, Do you insist on choosing this site? Elder. The young man turned his attention to the old man and said, Don't you get it? Your deity is coming back. The young man's words made the old man tremble all over. His face turned red. It seemed as if he was extremely excited, as he looked at the man in the eye and asked, Don't toy with me. Are you serious? What they are building is the Heavenly Mandate Academy. The young man pointed to the front and said, It turned out that he was Yi Futian's disciple, Fang Xiyuan. Naturally, the other three were Little Ling, Tai Tu and Duo Yu. The old man clenched his fists, and his expression was quite emotional, and he couldn't speak for some time. He took his grandson by the hand and started running with all his might. The deity of the Heavenly Mandate Realm was returning soon. Construction of buildings by cultivators in the Renhuang realm was extremely expedient. Not to mention there were multiple Renhuang working on it at the same time. Tall buildings and magnanimous halls soon rose from the ground. In one day, new and magnificent structures appeared on the old site of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. The buildings stretched for hundreds of miles. Soon, people from the Heavenly Mandate City were gathering in the location of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Everything they were seeing in front of them was simply like a dream. Today, there were even rumors that Yi Futian would be returning. However, many people didn't quite believe it. People from the older generations knew what happened back then. How could he return after he had made enemies with so many top forces in the upper worlds? The legendary story of Yi Futian and Heavenly Mandate Academy seemed to be fairy tales from another time. Even the memory of it was a little blurred now. But that era was the most glorious age in the history of the Heavenly Mandate Realm. Those people are very strong in their cultivation. Who are they exactly? Someone looked at the cultivators busy working on those newly built structures and noticed they were all Renhuang cultivators. Just observe. We will figure it out soon enough. Many of the cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate City stopped outside to watch. In the following days, the buildings were getting more magnificent and impressive, and far surpassed the original size of the previous Heavenly Mandate Academy. However, none of those cultivators seemed to be finishing anytime soon. There were even Peak Renhuang, who seemed to be working on a spatial teleportation matrix. Gradually, the cultivators outside of the Heavenly Mandate Realm had gotten wind of this news as well, and rushed over to see for themselves. This included those forces in other realms that had also received the same information. Half a month later, even more cultivators appeared outside the old site of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. At this time, not far from the old site of the Heavenly Mandate Academy, a group of cultivators appeared in the sky above. This group of people had an incredibly powerful aura, as their eyes looked forward and their brows furrowed. The person in the lead was Jianao, the former college chief of Tianshan Academy. Back then, when Yi Futian unified the 9 realms, Jianao and the others submitted to him in defeat. However, when Heavenly Mandate Academy was in peril and forced to leave, Jianao told Princess Donghuang that they were forced into submission and not out of their own free will. They had betrayed Heavenly Mandate Academy in the end. Later, they returned to the Central Emperor realm, and the group of cultivators who had rebelled allied their own and gradually rebuilt their forces in the Central Emperor realm. After the forces of the Divine Prefecture had finally finished their plundering and pillaging of the 9 realms, they shifted their attention elsewhere. Jianao and the others became powerful forces in the Central Emperor realm once more. But recently, they had gotten the news that someone was rebuilding the Heavenly Mandate Academy, so they came to see it for themselves. Go and find out from which principalities they are from. Jian'ao spoke to the person next to him, and immediately the cultivators from Tianshan Academy went forward until he came to the outside of the reconstructed Heavenly Mandate Academy. The aura of Upper Renhuang was released from him as he asked, loud and clear, "What are you building?" However, no one paid any attention to him, as every one of these cultivators was preoccupied with their own business. Their blatant disregard for him caused the man to frown. "If there's nothing else, please stay out of the way," a cultivator inside said lightly as he glanced at the other man. He completely paid him no mind. At the same time, in the reconstructed academy, a spatial divine light suddenly pierced through the sky. It was the spatial teleportation grand matrix. The spatial divine light seemed to have opened up a channel between the firmament and the lower worlds, as a divine light appeared to form a pillar of light in the space. The hearts of the cultivators in Heavenly Mandate City were palpitating. What a terrifying teleportation grand matrix. And just who was to be teleported? Buzz. The divine light descended, and a group of mighty cultivators appeared in the sky above. As soon as these people appeared, everyone who was watching from the outside held their breath collectively. What powerful auras were from these Renhuang cultivators, and many of them were in peak Renhuang no less. In the distance, Jian'ao saw the appearance of those cultivators, and his heart suddenly twitched. He saw many familiar faces. Some of them were once latecomers who were junior to him. Dou Zhao from the Dou tribe, Xiao Muyu from the Xiao clan, Yuan Hong from the Yuanyang clan, all ghosts of the past from the 9 realms. More importantly, their auras had become extremely horrific. The divine light was still descending, as another group of cultivators appeared, with familiar faces as well. Gu Donglu was among this group with an even stronger aura. A terrifying divine might came pressing down and shrouded the boundless space. Seeing those faces, the cultivators on the outside were instantly electrified. Was it really them who came back? At this time, an extremely brilliant divine light fell from the sky, as a figure with a white garment and white hair appeared in the sky above. As soon as he appeared, many older cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate realm froze. Burning tears filled their eyes. He came back. This legendary man of Heavenly Mandate realm was back. Jian'ao and the others, however, turned terribly pale. Their bodies felt a deep and involuntary fear. It was as their hearts were beating violently in their chests. They turned around, wanting to escape. The aura of the great path of space fluctuated, and they wished they had not come here. However, they discovered that several people were blocking their way, and the same powerful spatial light screen had already cordoned off this space, blocking Jian'ao's way out. At the same time, a supreme pressure came down above the firmament, directly enveloping Jian'ao and the others. Frankly, Jian'ao had goosebumps all over his body, and he felt suffocated. This aura was truly terrifying. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2583, Expedition. Chapter 2583. Expedition. Yi Futian's figure descended over the Heavenly Mandate Academy. Everyone in Heavenly Mandate City was thrilled. Ever since Yi Futian and the others left back then, the Heavenly Mandate Academy had become history. The Heavenly Mandate realm had also been destroyed. In the several decades that followed, the realm was in a constant decline. It was not just the Heavenly Mandate realm. The 3,000 realms of the Great Path of the original realm were picked clean. Anywhere with resources was plundered by the cultivators of the various worlds. The 3,000 realms of the Great Path were no longer the center of the original realm, but had become old abandoned lands. They never imagined that the once ruler of the original realm would return. Yi Futian unleashed his spiritual will and enveloped the vast space. Jian'ao and the others were even more terrified. However, they did not dare to move as their expressions turned pale. How was it that Yi Futian dared to return? Decades ago, the Heavenly Mandate Academy taught the way in the Heavenly Mandate realm and ruled over the lands of the 9 realms. However, it was invaded by outsiders. Today, I wish to rebuild the Heavenly Mandate Academy, declared Yi Futian in a loud voice as he glanced around at the crowd. Although Donghuang Imperial Palace was previously displeased with me, I still agree with the way Donghuang the Great teaches the way. Regardless of his stance, I am still willing to uphold the will of Donghuang the Great now, and in the future, and teach the way in the original realm. The 3,000 realms of the Great Path was previously the cultivation court for people from all walks of life in the original realm. Now it has been devastated. Yet, from this day forth, the Heavenly Mandate Academy will once again rule over the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. Any cultivator who cultivates in the 3,000 realms of the Great Path must obey the will of the Heavenly Mandate Academy. The Heavenly Mandate Academy had returned to rule over the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. All the cultivators in the Heavenly Mandate realm were astonished. Yi Futian had such lofty ambition. Currently, the original realm was in chaos. Although the cultivators from the top forces of the various worlds were not currently in the 9 realms, some of their remaining forces were still here. The 3,000 realms of the Great Path had long been taken over. Could Yi Futian seize control again? How would he make the cultivators from the other worlds yield and submit? Yi Futian, someone called out. As expected, a person dressed in black robes emerged. Although the person's aura was not very strong, he had an eerie vibe. He was a cultivator of the Dark World. Back in the day, he had followed the forces of the Dark World during their invasion. Now he acted as though he owned the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. The person stood there and asked loudly, "The 3,000 realms of the Great Path has long been a chaotic place. It does not belong to any person or force. Even Donghuang the Great has no right to rule over it. It is also the same for the entire original realm. How do you plan to rule the 3,000 realms of the Great Path?" Yi Futian wanted to rule over the 3,000 realms of the Great Path? He surely had huge ambitions if he wanted to reinstate order here. Yi Futian swept a glance at the other party and did not respond. He said, "Currently, the original realm has changed drastically and is chaotic and lawless. As a member of the original realm, I am willing to restore order to the original realm, not just the 3,000 realms of the Great Path." He used this opportunity to let the world know that the Ziwei segmentum would restore order to the original realm, not just the Heavenly Mandate realm, or the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. They would do so for the entire original realm. Preposterous, another cultivator from the Dark World said. You actually dare to claim that you will achieve something that even Donghuang Imperial Palace has failed to do. Even if I do not manage to do so, I will strive to achieve it, Yi Futian replied. Just then, beside Yi Futian, Hua Jiyu glanced at that person. With just a glance, that person felt as though her eyes had pierced directly into his soul. Terrifying will invaded his mind, and many pictures appeared within his head. You have killed innocent people in the original realm. You deserve death, said Hua Jiyu. As she said this, the figure of the cultivator from the Dark World immediately exploded, and he perished. For a moment, the surrounding space became exceptionally quiet. The cultivators from the Dark World were all silenced. The cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate realm were admiring that beautiful figure. She was very beautiful yet very cold. The position of college chief of the Heavenly Mandate Academy will be held by Gu Donglu, the lord of the Ziwei Segmentum Heavenly Mandate Palace. He will oversee order in the Heavenly Mandate realm, as well as the 3,000 realms of the Great Path, continued Yi Futian. It was as though he had not seen Hua Jiyu's actions. After his third older brother broke through to the tribulation plane, Yi Futian allowed Hua Jiyu to step down. Gu Donglu replaced her as lord of the Heavenly Mandate Palace. With second older sister as his support, they would be together as husband and wife. As for Hua Jiyu, she would no longer need to hold any positions. With her status, she did not need any positions. Yi Futian continued, when the Heavenly Mandate Academy is rebuilt, the Academy will accept disciples from the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. Next, the Heavenly Mandate Academy will establish teleportation grand matrices, linking it with the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. The realms will be linked together and become one, allowing for easy access between all realms. All the cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate realm were emotional when they heard this. The Heavenly Mandate Academy would teach the way, and the 3,000 realms of the Great Path would become one. One could foresee the trend of martial arts starting up again in the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. Third older brother, I will leave the 3,000 realms of the Great Path to you, Yi Futian said to Gu Donglu. Gu Donglu nodded his head as his figure floated in the air. He swept a gaze towards Jian'eo and the others. A terrifying aura pressed down across the space, causing Jian'eo's group to shudder. Jian'eo, the Heavenly Mandate Academy had once spared your lives. Yet, when we were faced with a crisis, your lot immediately betrayed us. You deserve death, declared Gu Donglu. Jian'eo's expression changed drastically. A terrifying aura pressed down on him, making it hard for him to remain standing. He wanted to flee, but he discovered that he could not move at all. How could Gu Donglu be this powerful? Jian'eo's group thought to themselves as their hearts beat wildly. What level was Gu Donglu's ability at? With Jian'eo's cultivation, he once stood at the peak of the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. Yet, before the pressure Gu Donglu exerted, it was as though Jian'eo could not resist at all. After several decades, had Gu Donglu already become so powerful? Other junior figures, such as Xiao Muyu and Dou Zhao, all had frightening auras. None of them were inferior to Jian'eo. Could it be that Jian'eo had truly made the wrong move? Back then, he had always wanted to return to the Divine Prefecture. He wanted to pave the way for his junior Jian Qingzhu. However, he realized that in the original realm, all those who followed Yi Futian were already so powerful. If he had stayed with Yi Futian back then, how would he be now? He did not manage to think much. Gu Donglu's palm struck down on where he stood. Immediately, the place where he stood was swept over by swords. His body could not move at all. Beams of sword light directly penetrated his figure. He revealed a look of absolute terror. With great difficulty, he lowered his head and inspected himself. He was not the only one who had been pierced through the heart by tens of thousands of swords. In the area around where he stood, the cultivators of the original realm, who had followed him in betraying Yi Futian, all met the same fate. Die, uttered Gu Donglu. As he said this, the various cultivators were immediately massacred by sword will, and were reduced to dust, which dissipated. The once college chief of Tianshan Academy, and a figure who stood at the top of the 3,000 realms of the Great Path, had perished just like that. He had been immediately killed off. When the cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate realm saw this scene, all of them felt their hearts throbbing. They were naturally aware of who Jian'eo was. He was a super cultivator, renowned in the 3,000 realms of the Great Path for many years. A top figure like him had actually been easily killed off by Gu Donglu. How powerful was Gu Donglu now? On that note, how powerful was Yi Futian currently? Before this, the cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate realm had all been wondering about this. Back during the war, Yi Futian and the forces of the Heavenly Mandate Academy had been forced to abandon the Heavenly Mandate realm. Now that they had returned, were they powerful enough? Did they have the confidence to deal with the various cultivators of the Divine Prefecture? After Gu Donglu killed Jian'eo, he said, "The members of the Heavenly Mandate Palace will hold the fort in the Heavenly Mandate Academy as we restore order in the 3,000 realms of the Great Path." "Yes, Lord," replied the cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate Palace as they bowed slightly. Back when the 4 palaces were established, the Heavenly Mandate Palace mainly consisted of the cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate realm, such as Lord Taixian, Emperor Nan, and other members. Such a force was already very powerful. "Lord Chun, you will remain in the Heavenly Mandate realm to hold the fort until the Heavenly Mandate Academy establishes the matrices," Yi Futian instructed Lord Chun. Lord Chun nodded and replied, "Rest assured, Palace Lord. I will hold the fort here with Donglu." "I will leave it to you," said Yi Futian. He then looked at the people around him and said, "Lord Morong and Lord Mu will watch over the Ziwei segmentum, while third older brother and Lord Chun hold the fort here. Senior Emperor Shi, Uncle Tai and Chinyi, please follow me." "Yes, Palace Lord," they answered as they nodded their heads and received their orders. They naturally knew where Yi Futian was leading them. They would leave the rebuilding of the Heavenly Mandate realm to Gu Donglu and the cultivators of the Heavenly Mandate Palace. As for them, They naturally had a score to settle with the other forces from the war. First were the 6 major ancient god clans. They needed to sever the connection between the 6 major ancient god clans and the original realm, and deprive them of everything they had here. Palace Lord, be careful. Lord Chen cautioned Yi Futian. No one knew how powerful Yi Futian was now. After sealing himself away for 28 years, followed by concocting pills for another 3 years, Yi Futian's cultivation was a mystery. He was still a level 9 Renhuang, yet he could concoct 2 tribulation subdivine elixirs. However, the enemies Yi Futian needed to face were the ancient god clans. The ancient god clans also had a passageway to the original realm. They could not predict what level of opponent they would encounter. Lord Chen was naturally somewhat worried. Responded Yi Futian with a nod. He then said, let's head out. As he said this, Yi Futian, Hua Jieyu, Blind Tai, Chen Yi, Emperor Shi, and Yang Wuxia headed up into the sky. Their group of 6 would be heading deep into the original realm, to the continents that had been established. 6 beams of flowing light instantly vanished before the eyes of the crowd. All the cultivators of the heavenly mandate realm were looking up at the sky. Astonishment welled up inside of them. Yi Futian had just returned, but he was actually leaving again immediately. From their conversation, it seemed as though he was heading out into the starry sky to restore order to the original realm and eliminate powerful enemies. God Yi, a youth mumbled. Then, more and more voices could be heard reverberating throughout the heavenly mandate realm. Yi Futian was merely stopping by the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. His expedition would lead him to the vast starry sky. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2584, Revenge. Chapter 2584. Revenge. The various major forces of the Divine Prefecture descended upon the original realm several decades ago. Starting from the 9 realms, they began expanding outward. All of them already possessed their own territory. As the strongest forces of the Divine Prefecture, the ancient god clans had naturally done the same. As one of the most powerful ancient god clans of the Divine Prefecture, Tianyan City naturally did the same. They had established a huge territory in the original realm. This region was called the Minor Tianyan Segmentum by Tianyan City. It went without saying that, as the top armory zone of the Divine Prefecture, Tianyan City was extremely exceptional in some aspects. This Minor Tianyan Segmentum once floated deep in the original realm. It was surrounded by chaotic currents with extremely destructive power. However, the cultivators of Tianyan City discovered that there were starry mineral deposits in this segmentum. Further within this region, hidden within the chaotic currents, they found a relic. With the terrifying power of Tianyan City, they walled off the area and immediately conquered and restructured it, forming the current Minor Tianyan Segmentum. For the past few decades, Tianyan City had spent an extremely large amount of resources to restructure the Minor Tianyan Segmentum. They made this once desolate land into a prosperous region. In order to prevent the Minor Tianyan Segmentum from being infiltrated by outside forces, Tianyan City had set up a powerful matrix outside of the Minor Tianyan Segmentum that isolated the space from the outside world. Only the core cultivators of Tianyan City could open this matrix and come and go freely. Besides that, there were countless cultivators on the main planet, Tianyan Planet, of the Minor Tianyan Segmentum. They were all cultivators who had migrated over from Tianyan City. Most of them were craftsmen. Some were even proficient in forging. Over the past few decades, they had already transformed Tianyan Planet into a city of gold. Golden divine light enveloped the entire Tianyan Planet. Of course, the surface area of the planet was not very big. It was even smaller than a small city of the Divine Prefecture. However, there were also a few ancient stars around that contained mineral deposits. These deposits had formed naturally and could replenish themselves infinitely. Hence, the members of Tianyan City firmly controlled this area and mined these deposits. They used the minerals they mined in the construction of Tianyan Planet, as well as transported them to Tianyan City via the spatial passageway. Tianyan City placed great importance in the minor Tianyan segmentum. These mineral deposits were rare forging materials and were extremely precious. While other forces were busy fighting over the inheritances of ancient great emperors, Tianyan City had their eyes fixed on this place. Right now, many cultivators were busy on Tianyan planet. At the same time, outside of the minor Tianyan segmentum, a group of figures appeared. The leader was Futian. Futian and his group looked ahead. They could faintly see a light screen. A gigantic matrix enveloped the entire minor Tianyan segmentum, hiding it from the eyes of outsiders. The segmentum was hidden within the matrix. On top of that, the surrounding currents were turbulent. Hence, the segmentum was difficult to locate. It has been an arduous journey getting to this point, Emperor Shi exclaimed. It took them quite some time to locate this place, even with the hints from West Imperial Palace. Without the hints, it would have been even more difficult for them to reach here. Tianyan City did a good job in hiding this segmentum. The deeper they hid it, the more it showed that they placed great importance on this segmentum. The Tianyan City Lord Office was ambitious to claim this area as their own. They wanted to have absolute control over it, and did not want others to set foot on it. However, this segmentum would belong to Futian and his group from now on. The matrix is powerful. Let me break through it, Blind Tai offered. Then he took a step forward, and immediately, a gigantic phantasm of a god appeared in the sky. It wielded a divine hammer and looked imposing. The phantasm of the god slammed the divine hammer downwards and hit the light screen. The matrix shook violently as cracks appeared on it. However, it was not destroyed. Blind Tai did not cease attacking. The godlike figure once again slammed its hammer down. When Blind Tai delivered the first blow, the entire Tianyan planet shook for a moment. This caused everyone on the planet to look at the sky as their hearts raced. What happened? Someone wondered. It seemed like somebody was attacking the defense matrix of the minor Tianyan segmentum from outside. Rumble. Yet another loud sound thundered. Everyone felt their hearts tremble. Someone was invading the minor Tianyan segmentum. Clearly, they realized what was happening. Figures rose to the sky one by one. A terrifying aura was unleashed from a palace on Tianyan planet. It was an aura unique to a tribulation plane cultivator. The cultivator strode forward as he looked at the sky. Yet another intense rumbling sound could be heard. The matrix was shattered into pieces. A few silhouettes appeared in high heavens. The spiritual soul of the tribulation plane cultivator on Tianyan planet swept out. His will covered the vast space in an instant and headed upwards. Once he stepped forward, his figure appeared above Tianyan planet. He waved his hand, and a terrifying aura was immediately unleashed. Golden divine light illuminated the vast space. In the sky a pattern appeared. It was akin to a matrix and could smelt all existences. This was the minor heaven tempering enumeration. In the past, Tianyan the Great invented the heaven tempering divine method and created an imperial arm called heaven tempering enumeration. His descendants in Tianyan City imitated his creation and made this minor heaven tempering enumeration. It was a two-tribulation subdivine arm with appalling might. However, as the minor heaven tempering enumeration loomed over the space, a figure directly disregarded the long distance and appeared on the ground of Tianyan planet. He went straight to the core region of the planet. There, a beam of spatial divine light pierced through the heavens and connected the planet with another place. This was the passageway that connected Tianyan planet to Tianyan City. Futian cast a glance at the passageway. Immediately, the space twisted and collapsed. The passageway distorted as a terrifying spatial storm was stirred up. Futian waved his hand, and the passageway was severed right away. His first step was to cut off the connection between Tianyan City and this place. The cultivator, who was in midair, turned around quickly. His facial expression turned extremely ugly when he saw that the passageway had been destroyed. He glared at the silhouette with white robes and white hair as he roared. Futian! How could he possibly not recognize Futian? In the Divine Prefecture, only very few people were unaware of his existence. He turned around and looked at the sky. 5 cultivators were standing there. Without exception, all of them were tribulation plane cultivators like himself. His face turned pale. How could this lineup be so powerful? Was the Z-Way segmentum already capable enough to come up with such a frightening lineup? Rumble. The minor heaven tempering enumeration expanded and blocked off the sun. It enveloped the vast space, shielding Tianyan planet within it. The divine light of heaven tempering poured down on the 5 cultivators. At the same time, the cultivator of Tianyan planet charged towards the high heavens as divine light surged from his body into the minor heaven tempering enumeration. A menacing swirl appeared in the sky, intending to swallow everything around it. Rumble. No! Cries of agony could be heard. The might of minor heaven tempering enumeration was too domineering. Many cultivators on Tianyan planet could not withstand its power and melted right away. They screamed as they died. This technique would actually smelt even the allies of the user. Buzz. Futian appeared directly beneath the minor heaven tempering enumeration. Destructive swirling storm and light of catastrophe wrapped around his body, intending to smelt him. However, Futian's flesh was indestructible and remained unaffected. This caused the facial expression of the Tianyan City Tribulation Plane cultivator to turn even uglier. He was in despair. Futian was even more terrifying than the 5 Tribulation Plane cultivators. He had no hope to win at all in this battle. Moreover, the passageway to Tianyan City had been ruined. He had no means to call for reinforcements. Only death awaited him. In the Tianyan City Lord office of the Divine Prefecture, figures rose to the sky one by one. The entire City Lord office had been thrown into chaos. At a core region of the City Lord office, a spatial frenzy storm rampaged. The spatial passageway leading to the original realm had been destroyed, causing time and space to warp and go berserk. Rumble. A shocking aura swept across the sky and loomed over the City Lord office. It even covered the entire Tianyan City. The Lord of Tianyan City floated up into the sky above the City Lord office. All the cultivators had their gazes fixed on him as their hearts quavered. They were aware that their stronghold in the original realm had been attacked. However, who was the invader? City Lord. What has happened? A cultivator in the City Lord office asked quizzically. They had yet to fully comprehend what was going on. Wang Yu has fallen, announced the Lord of Tianyan City. His words put the cultivators in great dismay. Wang Yu was the younger sibling of the Lord of Tianyan City. He had high standing and powerful cultivation. He was assigned to go to the original realm and hold the fort on Tianyan planet, while contributing mineral deposits to Tianyan City. Wang Yu's position and ability were indisputable. However, the Lord of Tianyan City had just declared that this younger sibling of his had fallen. Wang Yu had fallen in the original realm. He was murdered. Who did it? Someone asked. Who dared to act so presumptuously? Did someone from the dark world, or the empty divine realm do it? He was killed by Futian from the Z-Way segmentum, said the Lord of Tianyan City. His tone was as cold as ice, and his murderous intent filled the sky. This familiar name caused the City Lord office of Tianyan City to fall into a short period of silence. It was Futian from the Z-Way segmentum. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2585. Kill Order. Chapter 2585. Kill Order in the Divine Prefecture. A storm that involved the 6 major ancient god clans erupted. Futian led 5 tribulation plane cultivators from the Z-Way segmentum, and they consecutively invaded the bases of the 6 major ancient god clans in the original realm. Futian and his group plundered the possessions of the ancient god clans in the original realm and slaughtered the cultivators who held the forts. They were domineering and ruthless. By the time this news became known to the masses, the bases of the 6th major ancient god clans had been destroyed. Only later did this news spread across the Divine Prefecture and cause an uproar among the cultivators. While all the cultivators were in shock, a question surfaced in their minds. Why was it that only after the bases of the 6 major ancient god clans of the original realm were destroyed did news of this happening slowly spread? The news did not spread immediately. Instead, it was delayed by a few days. It was only after the fact that the Divine Prefecture suddenly realized that all 6 major ancient god clans had been attacked. Something suspicious was happening behind the scenes. The 6 major ancient god clans would certainly be able to communicate between themselves and send messages to each other. After the first ancient god clan in Tianyin City was attacked, they could have immediately informed the other ancient god clans, as well as the forces of the Divine Prefecture. However, they had not done so. Hence, the other ancient god clans were also unprepared and were immediately ambushed and destroyed. Their connections between the Divine Prefecture and the original realm were severed and out of reach for them now. Otherwise, if the armies of the ancient god clans were to retaliate, Yi Futian's group would not have dared to act recklessly. They would have invited destruction upon themselves by attacking the ancient god clans. However, all of this had not transpired. Yi Futian had very smoothly destroyed the bases of the 6 major ancient god clans. All of the ancient god clans suffered heavy losses. The ancient god clans all had their own agendas. Once their base in the original realm was destroyed, they hoped that the other ancient god clans would suffer the same fate as them. When that happened, the various forces would be antagonistic towards Yi Futian. In the Tianyin City Lord office in the Divine Prefecture, before a golden throne in a palace, there were many cultivators. Wang Xiao was also there. All those present were core members of the Wang family. "How did it go?" asked the Lord of Tianyin City. A person down below said, "The news has already spread, and the Divine Prefecture already knows. Of the 6 major ancient god clans who participated in the siege of the Ziwei Segmentum back then, none of them were spared." Responded the Lord of Tianyin City as he nodded slightly. It was as he expected. When he received word that the minor Tianyin Segmentum had been attacked, he was very surprised. His younger brother had also been killed. One could imagine the fury he felt inside. However, after he calmed down, the Lord of Tianyin City did not spread this news. He instead kept it under wraps. After Yi Futian destroyed the Imperial Arms seal and destroyed the Imperial Arms, his cultivation might have become even stronger than before, making him even more dangerous. Yi Futian had to die. He could not just rely on Tianyin City to kill Yi Futian. Other forces had to play their role too. Hence, he had to reel in the other ancient god clans. The deeper the hatred the other ancient god clans felt, and the greater the losses they suffered, the greater effort they would commit to killing Yi Futian. "Won't we offend the other ancient god clans by doing so?" asked a cultivator. He was somewhat worried, as they were the first to be attacked. "Those who were attacked after us also did not inform the other forces," said the Lord of Tianyin City nonchalantly. "In the battle back then, we went in the hardest and also suffered the greatest losses. How did they kick us when we were down? They actually claimed that we had not gone all out. They wished that the members of our Tianyin City had fought to the death and perished along with the Ziwei Segmentum. Back then, the various forces had hoped that Wang Xiao would take down the Ziwei Segmentum at all costs. Our Tianyin City lost an imperial arm and was then attacked. How could we just let the other forces remain safe and sound?" He continued. His tone was indifferent, seemingly containing resentment. "Wouldn't we miss the opportunity to kill Yi Futian?" asked an elder. He was an elder of the same generation as the Lord of Tianyin City. Otherwise, he would not have dared to question the latter now. "We won't," answered the Lord of Tianyin City, not minding the questioning. "More than 30 years have passed. Yi Futian wouldn't come seeking his death so easily. He has cultivated the Buddhist superpower celerity. It won't be easy to kill him. If we had informed the other forces and set up an ambush, he might not have attacked the other bases." "That is true. With Yi Futian having cultivated celerity, taking him down will be very difficult unless he barges into one of the core regions of the ancient god clans," the elder said as he nodded. "However, what should we do next?" "We wait," said the Lord of Tianyin City. "We do not need to do anything. Back then, we took the lead to attack the Ziwei Segmentum, while the other forces watched from the sidelines. Now it's their turn to take the initiative." He had been brooding over previous events. He seemed to have forgotten that Tianyin City had organized the armorer competition and shocked the Divine Prefecture. He had allowed Wang Xiao to bear imperial arms and head to the Ziwei segmentum to kill Yi Futian. He had done so because he wanted Wang Xiao's name to be known all over the divine prefecture, and for him to become the unrivaled. However, things didn't go as planned, and it did not end well. His resentment over the outcome back then made him say these words today. Will the other forces take action? Someone asked skeptically. It does not matter. This time, if no one makes a move, neither will we, said the Lord of Tianyan City. We only need to wait. As he said this, his will suddenly shifted. With a wave of his hand, an illusory image appeared before him. It was the image of a figure. Someone's here, the Lord said. The cultivators of Tianyan City narrowed their eyes when they saw the scene. From the looks of it, other ancient god clans had gotten impatient and had come to meet them. Lord Hua greeted the Lord of Tianyan City. It turned out that the person who arrived was the Lord of the Haotian clan. The cultivators of Tianyan City heard rumors that the Haotian clan had suffered severe losses this time. Their loss was even greater than that of Tianyan City. The Haotian clan was most probably enraged by this incident. City Lord, what are your thoughts on the current situation in the original realm? Asked the Lord of Haotian clan. He appeared calm and did not seem out of the ordinary. The Lord of Tianyan City answered coldly. Yi Futian went on a massacre in the original realm and wishes to occupy the realm by driving out the forces of the divine prefecture. He is cruel and ambitious. It seemed that he loathed Yi Futian. In his words, Yi Futian was an evil villain who wanted to occupy the original realm by any means necessary. You and I are of the same mind, replied the Lord of Haotian clan. Clan Lord, what are your thoughts on this matter? Asked the Lord of Tianyan City. He had speculated that the person who would act first would be the Lord of Haotian clan. It was as he had expected. After Yi Futian's attack, aside from the foothold of the Haotian clan in the original realm being destroyed, and them suffering heavy losses, they also lost an extremely crucial figure. He was a descendant of the Haotian clan, and one whom the Lord of Haotian clan had valued highly. The former was born from one of his concubines in his later years. The Lord had high hopes in this youngest child of his. Hence he had allowed him to come to train in the original realm. This youngest child had exceptional talent and ability, yet he was killed in the original realm. He had perished when Yi Futian and his group attacked their base. This blood debt had to be repaid with Yi Futian's death. An eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, the Lord of Haotian clan coldly declared. I am inviting all the forces in the divine prefecture, including you, the other ancient god clans and top forces, to issue a kill order to hunt down all the cultivators from the Ziwei segmentum. What do you think? The murderous intent in his speech filled the sky. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 2586, Contempt. Chapter 2586, Contempt, a kill order. When the cultivators in Tianyan City heard these words, they realized just how strong the murderous intent from the clan lord of Haotian clan was. It seemed that the death of his youngest son had a tremendous effect on him. Ever since Donghuang the Great unified the divine prefecture, the divine prefecture was operating according to its own rules and order. A massacre on a grand scale would be inhumane and against all reasons of logic. But now, the Haotian clan, as part of the ancient god clan, wanted to issue a kill order against the entire Ziwei segmentum. Specifically, how do you want to put this in motion? The city lord of Tianyan asked. He had kept his silence until now because he was waiting for the other forces to act first. Now that the clan lord of Haotian clan took the initiative to come to him, seeking an alliance in taking down Yi Futian, he was naturally more than agreeable. Yi Futian led the entire Ziwei segmentum to attack the principalities in the divine prefecture simultaneously. I found out that he has already dispatched cultivators into the former heavenly mandate realm, intending to regain control of the 3,000 realms of the Great Path, and even the entire original realm. The man's ambition knows no end. The clan lord of Haotian clan continued coldly. Such an evil force should not exist in the world, and ought to be rooted out. He wants to push the divine prefecture to the side. Then we will summon all the forces in the divine prefecture to slaughter Ziwei in return. The clan lord of Haoying clan continued. I and all of you will each provide our strongest support to execute the killing order. We will summon the cultivators from all sides in the divine prefecture to go to the original realm, hunt down, and terminate the cultivators of the Ziwei segmentum. Every one of them who comes out will be killed. He wants to occupy the land of the original realm. Let us promise that the land of the original realm will no longer have a place for Ziwei segmentum. This proposition of massacre did not just involve themselves, but also required the participation of all the forces in the entire divine prefecture. He meant to make Yi Futian and Ziwei segmentum the enemies of the world. Admittedly, this plan hatched by the clan lord of Haoying clan was incredibly ruthless. He was mobilizing countless cultivators in the divine prefecture to launch a massacre against the Ziwei segmentum through the kill order. Although they could not get inside the Ziwei segmentum, each person that came out of the segmentum would be killed. The cultivators of the Ziwei segmentum were dispersed in many different territories, such as the 3,000 realms of the Great Path, or at their camps within the original realm. They could all be killed and slaughtered in those places. If you want to execute the kill order and put the people of the divine prefecture at risk, I am afraid it won't be that easy. You might need to give them some incentives, the city lord of Tianyan replied. The 6 ancient god clans, in cooperation with some of the top forces in the divine prefecture, will give out different levels of rewards to those who carry out the kill order. I believe with the leadership of the ancient god clans and the top powers of the divine prefecture, the entire land of the divine prefecture will be willing to get involved. The clan lord of Haoying clan spoke in an extremely icy voice. From beginning to end, the murderous intent from him had not dissipated one bit. Very well then. The city lord of Tianyan spat as sharpness flashed across his eyes. Obviously, he was in support of the kill order, as issued by the clan lord of Haoying clan. If their plan succeeded, the cultivators of all parties in the divine prefecture would be actively executing the kill order. From then on, the cultivators of the Ziwei segmentum would no longer dare to move about at will, as each person who came out would have a target on their backs. This would make their foolish dreams of occupying the entire original realm a totally impossibility. Moreover, the cultivators of Ziwei segmentum would always live in fear, not knowing who would be the next, or who would be the ones to kill them. As soon as they left Ziwei segmentum, it was certain that they would be hunted. Even if they stayed within the Ziwei segmentum, there was no guarantee that they could evade death. When the kill order became a reality, it would undoubtedly be another major disaster for the Ziwei segmentum. What does the clan lord plan to do next? The city lord of Tianyan asked. The kill order was difficult to implement because not everyone would dare to act on it, especially now that Yi Futian was on a roll with great momentum, having destroyed the base camps of the 6 ancient god clans and unified the 3,000 realms of the Great Path. Who would be crazy enough to touch Yi Futian and Ziwei segmentum? Haotian clan will summon the cultivators from all sides of the divine prefecture to gather together and announce the kill order officially. Therefore, I will require the cooperation of the city lord and the others to generate the momentum for this event. Once all the cultivators from the divine prefecture receive the kill order to carry it out, there is no need for us to keep tabs on them in the future. I will have others in divine prefecture monitor their progress. Yi Futian and the people of the Ziwei segmentum will be trapped inside Ziwei segmentum. The clan lord of Haotian clan continued. In addition, the call this time is also to find a solution to deal with Ziwei segmentum once and for all, and how we can sack Ziwei segmentum and bring Yi Futian to justice. Fine. The city lord of Tianyan City nodded and said, I will fully cooperate. As long as Haotian clan let me know when in advance, Tianyan City will be there. The clan lord of Haotian clan nodded slightly, then he disappeared immediately, as he went to rally the other forces of the ancient god clans. Once the news came out that all 6 ancient god clans of the divine prefecture would push forward the killing order together for the sole purpose of destroying Ziwei Segmentum. It caused great shockwaves across the divine prefecture in a very short amount of time. Yi Futian had boldly led the cultivators from the Ziwei Segmentum for a coordinated attack on all 6 ancient god clans. That was something so unimaginably arrogant on his part. For this, each of the 6 ancient god clans paid a heavy price. Therefore, they not only wanted revenge for themselves, they also wanted Yi Futian dead. So, they would implement a blanket kill order to get the entire divine prefecture involved in the hunt to eliminate all the cultivators from the Ziwei Segmentum. It was indeed something crazy and inconceivable. The 6 ancient god clans were all peak-level principalities, but they now employed a strategy on such a massive scale just for one person. They even went as far as to leverage the power of the entire divine prefecture. It was very clear to everyone just what a great threat Yi Futian and the Ziwei Segmentum had become. For a time, the entire divine prefecture was boiling over because of the news. Countless cultivators set off toward the continent where Haotian clan was located, as if there was yet another feast of terror after the alchemy competition. This time, it was to kill, as a way to deal with Yi Futian and the Ziwei Segmentum. When Yi Futian received the news, he was in Ziwei Imperial Palace. They were busy moving the resources that they had plundered inside Ziwei Segmentum. He got the news from Shi Qiao first. Shi Qiao was cultivating in the Ziwei Segmentum, but kept close touch with the West Imperial Palace. After receiving the news, West Imperial Palace immediately informed her. A kill order? In Ziwei Imperial Palace, Yi Futian seemed to be a bit contemptuous when he heard Shi Qiao's words. It was as if he did not even feel anything about the kill order that had created major shockwaves in the divine prefecture. Seeing Yi Futian's indifferent expression, Shi Qiao asked, "The Haotian clan is the one that initiated the kill order. If it is implemented in the divine prefecture, it is impossible for Ziwei Imperial Palace to expand into the original realm, and it will be limited only inside the Ziwei Segmentum." Didn't Yi Futian understand that? How could he have such disdain? Do you know why I first moved in to take down the 3,000 realms of the Great Path and have my senior brother take over, before I started the attack on the 6 ancient god clans? Yi Futian looked at Shi Qiao and asked her pointedly. Shi Qiao was stunned for a moment as she looked at him, and a strange brilliance flashed across her beautiful eyes. Obviously, she understood what was unsaid by Yi Futian. "Do you want them to come to you in the original realm?" Shi Qiao said. "Of course." Yi Futian nodded. "Compared to me going to the ancient god clans, it is much better for them to come to the original realm, which will make it a lot easier to deal with them." But Yi Futian's eyes swept to the place higher above the sky. "I don't care if the Haotian clan gave out the kill order, but if it is implemented, it will be detrimental to cultivators in the Ziwei Segmentum. It seems that I needed to personally take a trip there." "You want to get back to the divine prefecture again?" Shi Qiao stared at Yi Futian in disbelief. After so many years, and long after the armorer competition, Yi Futian would once again step into the divine prefecture. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2587, Tempting Rewards. Chapter 2587. Tempting Rewards. Haotian clan in the Nantian domain was the absolute dominant force in that region. So indomitable were they that even the domain chief's mansion could not hold them down. For as long as anyone could remember, the divine prefecture was nicknamed South Vast Heaven. As a principality that belonged to the ancient god clans, the Haotian clan had countless years of history, passing down since the time of Haotian the Great, who was once an awesome ancient emperor of his time. As part of the ancient god clans, this meant that it had received the very powerful and indestructible will of the emperor even to this day, passing down from generation to generation. The will of Haotian the Great was inside Haotian clan. And now, in Haotian City, where Haotian clan was located in the Nantian domain, several cultivators from the divine prefecture had gathered here. The Haotian clan had united with the other 5 ancient god clans and invited outstanding cultivators from all over the world to gather here to initiate the kill order. This had caused a great sensation in the Divine Prefecture. For a time, numerous cultivators from the Divine Prefecture rushed here to join in on the action. Some wanted to see just how tempting the kill order was as issued by the alliance of all 6 ancient god clans. They wanted to see for themselves whether it was worth it for them to be used by these forces to assassinate cultivators from the Ziwei segmentum. For the kill order to become a reality, there must be sufficient rewards to tempt them. After all, the strength of the Ziwei segmentum was considerable, and Yi Futian's potential was terrifying. However, since the Haotian clan had gathered the cultivators from the Divine Prefecture, they must have been quite sure about their chances to succeed. All of them were curious just how much these 6 ancient god clans were willing to pay for this endeavor. Inside Haotian City, every major tavern and inn was booked. In a tavern, many cultivators were discussing the kill order that would be officially issued the next day. I heard that all the ancient god clans have arrived. For the 6 ancient god clans to ally to issue a kill order, this is probably the first time something like this happened since Dong Huang the Great unified the Divine Prefecture? Someone commented. Aha! Someone nodded. In fact, the battle before was already the ultimate battle that ever took place in the Divine Prefecture's countless years of history. Even though imperial arms were used, they failed to destroy Ziwei. In Ziwei segmentum, Yi Futian was its absolute king. He can use the will of Ziwei the Great, and he did just that to destroy the heaven-tempering enumeration, the imperial arms from Tianyan City, 3 years ago. No wonder the 6 ancient god clans have allied. This time the 6 ancient god clans have suffered hefty losses. Haotian clan had obtained a relic of the great emperor in the land of the original realm, but it was taken away before it was fully excavated. The clan lord's youngest son was killed in the process, so there was little wonder that Haotian clan was so angry that they now wished to exterminate the Ziwei segmentum completely, hence the issuance of the kill order. It's just that the 6 ancient god clans and the top principalities of the Divine Prefecture formed an alliance, and Wang Xiao even took the imperial arms there, but none of them were able to kill Yi Futian or to destroy the Ziwei segmentum. Now just because they are about to issue a kill order, do they think that these cultivators in the Divine Prefecture will be able to get inside the Ziwei segmentum? Isn't it just as futile as before? You don't understand so much, do you? Let's talk about the first point. The original realm is vast and boundless, and the Ziwei segmentum is located inside the original realm. This is their home base, and they have geographical advantages. Now, Yi Futian wants to expand with the Ziwei segmentum as the center and control the entire original realm. Yi Futian himself is an expert of Buddhist superpower, the Buddhist celerity, which allows him to come and go without a trace. If he were to become even stronger in the future, the 6 ancient god clans would not have any advantages in the land of the original realm, so they want to use all the cultivators in the Divine Prefecture to pressure Ziwei segmentum. The second point. Do you think there are no top cultivators in the Divine Prefecture? What's the year right now on the Divine Prefecture calendar? It's more than 10,000 years. How many cultivators have been born during the past 10,000 years? And how many cultivators have been hidden from the world? It is said that in these years of chaos in the original realm, there have been many powerful figures that came out of hiding to fight for the relics. I think the ancient god clans must understand this more than we do. As long as the temptation was great enough, these extraordinary cultivators will come out of the woodwork and take action. Of course, the third point is also extremely crucial. Once the kill order is successfully implemented, the Ziwei segmentum will truly become public enemy number 1 of the Divine Prefecture. It is a war between the Divine Prefecture and the Ziwei segmentum, a battle for the original realm. But more forces might get involved in the end, and even the Imperial Palace might. I didn't think so deeply. If the kill order is implemented, with so many cultivators from the Divine Prefecture enticed to hunt and kill the cultivators from the Ziwei segmentum, it will no doubt cause a battle between the 2 realms, pushing the Divine Prefecture and Ziwei segmentum to an absolute standoff. Moreover, it will make people feel that Ziwei segmentum represents the original realm. Therefore, the cultivators discussed and chatted enthusiastically. In this scenario, the situation that was waiting for Ziwei segmentum would be a very bleak one. Even if it could not be breached for the moment, once the opposition was formed, the Ziwei segmentum would be destroyed sooner or later, as it was all related to how things stood in general. Unless the divine prefecture could tolerate the advent of another great emperor, using the Ziwei segmentum as his base and center, ruling the original realm from there. Yi Futian is indeed a bit too brazen, someone said. He dared to attack the 6 ancient god clans, and uprooted all the strongholds of the 6 ancient god clans in the original realm. It's like he wanted to unify the original realm, and expel the divine prefecture. It was too much. If you have Yi Futian's strength, you'll be more brazen than him, someone teased. Everyone nodded and agreed this was quite true. Now Yi Futian was like the sun in the sky, with no one in the world who did not know of him. The armorer competition in Tianyan City was meant to propel Wang Xiao into fame as the first person under the great emperor. Still, it was also an effort stymied by Yi Futian. No one knew who else could hold down someone like him. No one knows how the confrontation between the 6 ancient god clans and the Ziwei segmentum would end this time, someone said. We can only wait and see. These cultivators were all looking forward to it with heightened anticipations. Tomorrow, they could see whether the kill order would be implemented. Futian City, this ancient city that had been through numerous years of challenges and strife, had a glorious past, but had never been so lively since the unification of the divine prefecture. In anticipation of countless people, Futian City finally ushered in the day when the kill order was officially implemented. On this day, golden sunlight sprinkled down from the sky above Futian City. The weather, like the mood inside the city, was extremely warm and vibrant. In the city, countless people whispered as if waiting for something incredible. Finally, a sound rang throughout the entire city. It was the sound of a bell that was like a bell from the gods, resounding in the hearts of everyone who heard it. At this moment, on this boundless land, those countless cultivators in Futian City quieted down as they looked up to the sky above. Suddenly, there was an extremely brilliant golden divine light that appeared above the sky. With the convergence of that divine light, a boundless and massive figure appeared above the firmament, as if it was the figure of Futian. It's the clan lord of Futian clan. Someone recognized the figure in that gigantic face, and it belonged to the most powerful man in Nantian domain. The clan lord of Futian clan appeared directly above the sky, so that the whole city could see him. Behind that Futian-like figure were also many elusive figures standing in the sky like divine generals. They were the top figures from Futian clan. Then, there was another divine light blooming, and in 5 other places, figures began to appear one after another, projected onto the firmament. In one of the places, golden light filled the sky, and it was the cultivators from the Vajra realm. In another direction, a majestic figure, incomparable and terrifying aura, was the city lord of Tianyan City, with the cultivators from Tianyan City trailing behind him. Many people looked at the one person next to the city lord of Tianyan, Wang Xiao, who was praised by the city lord of Tianyan himself as the first man under the great emperor. In the other 3 directions, there were infinite mountains, the ancient god clan from the boundless domain, the ancient god clan of Jiang from Taishang domain, Yuanshi Palace from Yuanshi domain. All these major forces had arrived in person, with many cultivators gathered besides. At this moment, the 6 ancient god clans appeared in the sky above Futian City at the same time, as if they were the spokesperson of the vast heaven. In each of the major direction of Futian City, on top of many buildings, cultivators from all sides were sitting there. They were top forces from the divine prefecture, and they were now inside Futian City. At this moment above the sky, the clan lord of Futian clan spoke with gusto. Today we invite the cultivators from all over the divine prefecture to come to Futian City, and I think you know why. The land of the original realm has long been ruled by divine prefecture, as a vassal of the divine prefecture. Yi Futian, who, as a cultivator of the divine prefecture, abused the benevolence of the great emperor, who was merciful enough not to punish him for what he did. After he fortified himself, he wreaked havoc in the land of the original realm. Now he slaughtered at will and on a massive scale. First, he led his hordes of cultivators to commit a massacre in the former 9 realms, forcibly occupying it. Then, he proceeded to attack the major strongholds of the divine prefecture in the original realm, killing indiscriminately, and intending to expel everyone from the original realm, and occupying the original realm by force. He spoke with a booming voice that resounded throughout the void. He depicted Yi Futian as some great demon lord of the world, who had done all the wicked deeds and slaughtered indiscriminately. The clan lord of Futian clan paused for a moment, and then continued to speak loudly. Therefore we are here today, in conjunction with other ancient god clans, to initiate a kill order to execute the cultivators from Ziwei Segmentum. In Ziwei Segmentum, there is the Starry Cultivation Court, a holy land for cultivation. I promised that anyone who had made a kill of the cultivators of Ziwei Segmentum, regardless of realms, may enter the Starry Cultivation Court to cultivate and bath in the imperial glory as soon as Ziwei is sacked. The heart of those cultivators from Futian City skipped a beat. This was too easy. Anyone, as long as they had made a kill, no matter who or what realm the person was, would have the opportunity to experience the will of the great emperor in the future. However, there were still some questions, of course. All these promises had to wait for the actual demise of the Ziwei Segmentum, and everyone knew it was easier said than done. More importantly, Yi Futian was the heir of Ziwei the Great. If Ziwei was sacked, no one knew whether the great emperor's will would still remain. Furthermore, in the future, when the 6 ancient god clans regained our territories in the original realm, all of you can come at any time and cultivate within. Those who executed Renhuang will be granted entry to all the relics unconditionally. Even the excavated relics of the great emperor would be made available to you in cultivation. In addition to all of the offers I just mentioned, those who slaughtered cultivators in the tribulation plane may choose to enter any of the 6 ancient god clans to cultivate and experience the will of the great emperor for themselves. There will also be rewards of the subdivine arms, along with a top cultivation method of your choice, as each of the 6 ancient god clans will make one set of their top-notch methods available for your choosing. For anyone who killed Yi Futian, the 6 ancient god clan would be made available to you without any restrictions. The clan lord of Futian clan spoke loudly, his voice resounding through the void, causing countless cultivators to tremble in their hearts and souls. No matter who it was, these conditions were extremely tempting. Even those who were existences in the tribulation plane were quite enticed. There was a high probability that this kill order would be successfully implemented. Many cultivators would be willing to take the risk and participate in the hunt for the cultivators from the Ziwei Segmentum. The Ziwei Segmentum would be in peril once more. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2588, One Man. Chapter 2588. One man. When the reward was suitable, there was no lack of brave men willing to risk their lives, especially when the compensation was so generous that it was a major temptation. All anyone had to do was kill a Renhuang in exchange for the opportunity to cultivate imperial-level relics. If it was too difficult to capture the entire Ziwei Segmentum, it should not be as difficult to regain the territories that the 6 ancient god clans had lost in the original realm. As for the rewards laid out for slaying cultivators of the tribulation plane, it was even more enticing. The opportunity to experience the will of the great emperor, the gift of the subdivine arms, and top cultivation method from the ancient god clans. This kind of temptation would entice even those cultivators of the tribulation plane from the outside. The assassination of Yi Futian. This was not something that ordinary people could even remotely think of. Even among those who had survived the divine tribulation of the Great Path, few dared to entertain that possibility. The West Sea Domain Chief's mansion had wanted to kill Yi Futian for a very long time. The same with many top forces in the Divine Prefecture, including the 6 ancient god clans. Who among them didn't want to see Yi Futian dead? However, as of now, Yi Futian was still alive and well, and he was getting stronger as they spoke. He had destroyed the imperial arms, broke through the imprisonment, and annihilated the territories of the ancient god clans. The people of the entire Haotian city couldn't stop talking about this. Above the sky, the clan lord of Haotian clan surveyed the crowd, and his phantom, like a god in heaven, was extremely mighty and authoritative. He continued, "This time, it's a war between us Divine Prefecture and Ziwei Segmentum. Yi Futian wanted to expel the Divine Prefecture and slaughter the cultivators of the Divine Prefecture, so that he could occupy all of the original realm by force. In that case, we will let the cultivators of the Ziwei Segmentum disappear from the world forever. The kill order is issued today, which will be permanently effective. After the new channel is opened, whoever is willing may band together to go to the original realm and annihilate Ziwei." The kill order was officially promulgated and implemented on the land of the Divine Prefecture. As for the actual number of people who might participate, no one knew. And the key was, from this moment forward, no one would know if any cultivators that came to the original realm from the Divine Prefecture would be the ones to carry out the kill order and hunt the cultivators in the Ziwei Segmentum. From this moment on, they had to guard against all the cultivators that were from the Divine Prefecture. Anyone could deal a fatal blow to them at any time. According to the clan lord of the Haotian clan, from this moment forward, the order would be permanently in effect. If the Ziwei Segmentum ever wanted to befriend any other forces in the Divine Prefecture, it must always be on guard. This was a bit of a ruthless trick, as it would compel the Ziwei Segmentum to be on the opposing side of the Divine Prefecture. Yi Futian had led the Ziwei Segmentum to slaughter at will. As a member of the Divine Prefecture, we must stand up against this abuse and destroy the Ziwei Segmentum for good, punishing Yi Futian for what he has done. At this moment, on top of a tavern, a cultivator announced loudly. His voice sent a shockwave through the void. It was a cultivator from Celestial Worthy Mountain, one of the top principalities in the Divine Prefecture. They were part of the group that had participated in the battle to destroy Ziwei Segmentum back then. They had long held a grudge against Yi Futian, and there was no better time than this for them to stand up and accept the kill order, and use this opportunity to punish those who cultivated in Ziwei Segmentum. As the domain chief of the West Sea Domain Chief's mansion, I, too, have the responsibility to come forward and destroy Ziwei. Domain chief of the West Sea Domain also announced loudly. After that, cultivators from all sides expressed their stances successively, accepting the kill order, and clearly stating that they would destroy Ziwei and kill Yi Futian. Moreover, these were all peak forces whose position had always been aligned with that of the 6 ancient god clans. But as each of these cultivators made clear their intention, Haotian City became a little eerie, as all sides were responding to its call to arms. Destroy Ziwei, kill Yi Futian. A voice sounded inside Haotian City. Destroy Ziwei, kill Yi Futian. Those voices were heard one after another, resounding through heavens and earth, echoing in the space, as if the entire Haotian City was responding to the kill order, to destroy Ziwei and to kill Yi Futian. This terrifying sound drowned out the whispers of the crowd and everything else. In this vast ancient city, it seemed that only this sound existed with its monstrous, murderous intent. Obviously, this was not a spontaneous response from the cultivators within Haotian City. This was someone intentionally driving the crowd to a crescendo and creating a sense of frenzy. At this moment, in another direction, many people seemed to be affected by this frenzy. They seemed quite excited, as they were shouting the slogans, "Destroy Ziwei" and "Kill Yi Futian." The kill order was issued, and Ziwei Segmentum would face the onslaught of countless cultivators from the Divine Prefecture. Ziwei ought to be obliterated. At this time, a cultivator who was deeply affected by this frenzy levitated slightly into the air as he continued shouting, "Destroy Ziwei, kill Yi." Before he could finish his words, a light flashed across his throat, almost to the point where it was unimaginable, and it was gone in a flash. He wanted to finish his sentence, but found that he could no longer make an audible sound. As if he suddenly realized what had just happened. His eyes were filled with extreme terror. Trembling, he put his hands to his throat, and as he lowered his head to look, he saw that it was covered with his blood. No! He managed to let out a fearful low growl, but it was so hoarse that it was drowned out in this lively atmosphere. At the same time, in other directions, traces of sword intent passed by, like rays of light. Many were still shouting in excitement, as the sword intent passed through their throats directly. Look there! At this moment, someone made a horrific sound somewhere, as he looked at a cultivator not far away. He saw the other man was holding his throat with both of his hands, but bright red blood spurted out, and was impossible to stop its wild flow. His head began to slant to one side as his throat was cut clean through by the sword intent. What's going on? The cultivators in that direction suddenly felt cold all over, and their souls shuddered. Soon, the same thing happened in other places in Futian City, and not only in that one direction anymore. Be careful. Someone is attacking us, warned a roar. Effectively suppressed all the excitement inside Futian City, and those noises of jubilations. In an instant, Futian City was silenced. As these cultivators released their divine consciousness, they saw many people clutching their throats and falling in pools of blood. Moreover, it did not just appear in one place, but was happening in many places all at once, and some places were far apart in the distance. It seemed that many cultivators had launched the attacks at the same time. Who is it? Show yourselves. Above the firmament, a cold admonishment was heard, and the figure that looked like Futian had his eyes fixed on Futian City. As his majestic gaze passed over, his terrifying divine consciousness covered the entire city. However, no culprit was found, as if no one was there. But he did see that in those different directions, some were very far from each other. They were all being subjected to these deadly attacks as men were slaughtered. In this case, how could they not find even one culprit? Could it be that all the attackers were experts at concealing their auras? All the leaders from the 6 ancient god clans were here in the sky above Futian City. Futian clan had summoned the cultivators of the divine prefecture here. But it was right at this moment that someone was hunting and killing them here. How humiliating was that? Auras of horror shrouded the entire Futian City, and the divine consciousness from those cultivators swept over everyone inside. They were checking one by one, and they were sure they would find out who it was. No need to look further. At this moment in the void, there was a voice that came. It sounded as if it was close, but it also seemed to come from afar, from nothingness. Even divine consciousnesses could not lock onto the source of the sound. As soon as their divine consciousness followed the voice, they found that there was no one at the other end at all. But this voice could be heard by everyone in the entire Futian City. Yi Futian. Wang Zhao's eyes suddenly sharpened. This was Yi Futian's voice. His sworn enemy appeared again after more than 30 years, even though this was not how Yi Futian viewed him. But for him, Yi Futian was his sworn enemy. Yi Futian. The people in Futian City suddenly quieted down. Even just a few moments ago, they were still clamoring to obliterate Ziwei and hunting down Yi Futian. Still, when Yi Futian really appeared in person, they fell into a deep and embarrassing silence. On the day when the Futian clan issued the kill order, Yi Futian dared to appear in person. How preposterously arrogant and confident was this? Did he kill that man just now? How did he do that? Buddhist celerity. Some cultivators remembered that Yi Futian was an expert at Buddhist superpowers. This meant that Yi Futian could change his position in an instant without any warnings. He could appear in different places to kill almost instantly, but gone without a trace, because he had already been teleported away with Buddhist celerity. This was far too preposterous. Just as the 6 ancient god clans jointly issued the kill order, Yi Futian descended in Futian City to slaughter them instead. 50 years ago, I cultivated in the original realm and obtained the inheritance of Ziwei the Great, as well as several other great emperors. The forces of the divine prefecture coveted the inheritance and joined forces to invade Heavenly Mandate Academy. Don't you remember how high-handed was the city lord of Tianyan? Just because I won't surrender the divine body, he annihilated Heavenly Mandate Academy in one strike, treating human lives like garbage. Since when did the lives of those cultivators in the original realm been valued by the haughty ancient god clans? 30 years ago, in the armorer competition at Tianyan City, the forces of the Divine Prefecture were called once again to bear imperial arms to destroy Ziwei. Under the attack of the imperial arms, the power of destruction penetrated Ziwei segmentum, and countless people lost their lives again. At that time, who amongst the Divine Prefecture cared about these lost lives? That voice was icy as it resounded through Futian City. Every time the voice came, it sounded as if it was from a different position, totally unpredictable. Now, just because I took my revenge, destroying the strongholds of the 6 ancient god clans in the original realm, you dared label me, and what I did as the indiscriminate killing of innocents. What a joke. Now you even issued a kill order. Yi Futian's voice was dripping with extreme sarcasm. When the voice fell, a group of people on top of the tavern noticed a strong sense of threat all of a sudden. Their expression changed drastically as the aura of the Great Path exploded from them. However, in the next moment, their bodies froze right where they were, unable to move as if they were constrained by space. In the next moment, the sword will burst forth, and the space was ripped to pieces. Blood spattered, and those cultivators were instantly crushed and killed. They were cultivators from a major principality, and some of them were peak Renhuang. They, too, had threatened to kill Yi Futian and destroy Ziwei just moments ago, but in an instant, none of them were left alive. This, in front of everyone, Yi Futian had started a massacre of his own. Boom! The 6 powerful clan lords, including the clan lord of Futian clan, released a monstrous coercion at the same time, covering the boundless void that extended to the entire city. Since you are already here, why bother hiding? The clan lord of Futian said coldly. As soon as his voice fell, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky above Futian City, as if emerging out of thin air. The man was clad in white garments that were whiter than snow. He bore an incredible presence. It was Yi Futian. Your kill order. Destroy Ziwei, kill Yi Futian. He said this indifferently as his eyes swept across all the cultivators below. He continued, I am right here. Whoever wants to destroy Ziwei and kill me, stand up and come forward. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. Chapter 2589, Killing Against Killing. Chapter 2589, Killing Against Killing. Futian City was unusually quiet at this moment. Only Yi Futian's voice echoed in the sky above the ancient city. On this day, the Divine Prefecture gathered here, as the 6 ancient god clans jointly issued a kill order to destroy Ziwei and kill Yi Futian. However, at this moment, Yi Futian was standing above Futian City, one man alone to face down the 6 ancient god clans and all the cultivators from the Divine Prefecture. Renhuang in the 9th realm, the city lord of Tianyan, stared at Yi Futian, as did Wang Xiao behind him, his eyes fixed squarely on Yi Futian. His cultivation was in the 9th realm of Renhuang, and it had not changed. The city lord of Tianyan was a bit more relieved when he realized this. In the past 30 years, Yi Futian had been trapped by the imperial arms and had not had a breakthrough in his cultivation. If he had stepped into the tribulation plane already, it would be that much harder to deal with him. However, if Yi Futian dared to come to Futian City, presumably he had some plan because he was so confident. Seal the city, the city lord of Tianyan commanded. As soon as his voice fell, a terrifying aura bloomed from him, which soon covered Futian City. Above the firmament, a divine matrix appeared, and it was the heaven-tempering divine matrix. Tianyan the Great had used this divine matrix as the foundation in the creation of the heavenly tempering enumeration. Not just him alone, but other cultivators were also taking action. The peak giants of all 6 ancient god clans had released their greatest abilities. Above the firmament, The boundless space seemed to be shrouded by a supreme will. The entire sky turned into a gigantic face, like Haotian's will, overpowering the whole city. Since you are here, don't leave, the clan lord of Haotian clan said coldly. While he was speaking, the face representing Haotian's will above the sky also spoke at the same time. The entire Haotian city could hear what was said clearly. The clan lord of Haotian clan's youngest son had perished at the hands of Futian, and that was why he gathered the 6 ancient god clans to issue a joint kill order. But Futian was bold enough to appear in Haotian city on this very day and start a killing spree of his own. How could they allow Futian to leave here alive? Why would I leave? Futian looked at the clan lord of Haotian clan and replied. Above the firmament, a supreme divine might now gathered. Everyone could see that Haotian divine shadow raising his hand and slamming it in the direction where Futian was. It seemed to contain Haotian's supreme will. At this moment, the cultivators in the entire city felt a tremor from the depths of their souls, and it was difficult for any of them to move. As if they were being pressured with no room to breathe. The city seemed to be frozen solid. Authority of heaven. Countless people trembled in their hearts. This was the real authority of heaven, Haotian's will. A radiant divine aurora burst from that great handprint, which contained the might of heaven. The moment the handprint disappeared from the firmament, everyone inside Haotian city trembled in their souls, as if it was an apocalyptic attack that they had encountered. Boom! There was a loud noise, and there was no way to see where the handprint fell. The divine light exploded in an instant, and the next moment, a massive handprint left its mark somewhere else in Haotian city, like a huge sinkhole. In that area, all the buildings had crumbled, and the cultivators who once stood there had turned into dust. No one saw how they died before they disappeared forever, as all traces of them were erased. No one knew who they even were. All of them dead. The cultivators who were near the deep pit, survived by pure chance, shuddered uncontrollably. Those people were all dead. Many cultivators had gathered inside Haotian city. The blow just now must have slain a lot of cultivators. The clan lord of Haotian clan watched what happened with an extremely terrible look on his face. His eyes fixed forward, as he saw that Futian was still standing where he was, as if he had never moved a muscle. Futian did not block the blow, choosing to disappear instead. The authority of heaven did not oppress him, and could not lock onto him. After the attack landed, he returned to where he was. His comings and goings were completely untraceable and unpredictable. It was precisely because Futian did not block this attack that the attack was allowed to land where it did. Not only did it not kill Futian, it killed those unlucky cultivators inside Haotian city instead. Because you tried to save yourself, that so many cultivators died because of you, the clan lord of Haotian clan said coldly. His voice was full of indifference and rage, as if it was Futian who had killed those people. However, it was he who killed those men. Naturally, the clan lord of Haotian clan understood that. But what could he do about it now? Today, it was him who invited these people of the divine prefecture here, so he could make the kill order official. Now he had killed these cultivators from the divine prefecture by mistake, so even if he knew it was his fault, what of it? How could he admit it? If he were to admit wrongdoing, then how would he account for the doings of the Haotian clan? Because even if everyone was here to witness it, and the fact was right in front of them, he would still say that it was Futian who killed these men. The cultivators in Haotian city said nothing when they heard his words, maintaining their dead silence. Futian was a little bit astonished. Looking at the others, he said, I can hardly believe there are actually such shameless people in the world like you. Did the Haotian clan survive these countless years, purely on the power of such outrageous shamelessness? Today, all those who were here were for the sole purpose of the kill order. Should he even care about the lives of these people? If the clan lord of Haotian clan didn't care, why should he? The expressions of those giant figures from the 6 ancient god clans did not look very good. Futian showed up here, as if he was holding the cultivators of the entire Haotian city hostage. With his Buddhist celerity, unless an attack on a massive scale was carried out to destroy this entire area, there was almost no other way Futian could be killed. If he chose to attack this way, he would endanger the entire Futian city. In Futian city, a lot more people were going to die. The intensity of the kind of attack that could kill Futian was not likely to be survivable by people inside Futian city. No one dared to go ahead with a plan like that. But at this moment, a powerful aura of the Great Path appeared in the area surrounding Futian, attempting to superimpose his surroundings with this domain of the Great Path. However, nothing inside the entire Futian city could escape Futian's sharp perception. A sarcastic amusement appeared in his eyes as his body disappeared directly from where he was standing. In the next moment, he appeared in a place beneath Futian city. Here, there were cultivators from a major principality in Nantian domain, a part of the Divine Prefecture. Just now, they had chanted the threats of destroying Ziwei. They saw Futian suddenly appeared in front of them, and their expressions changed to one with horror. In the next moment, they felt it was difficult for them to move, as the entire space was absolutely frozen. All around them, the divine splendor of the space was shining, along with an extreme sense of coldness. Destroy Ziwei, kill Futian. Futian spat. In the next moment, the space where all these cultivators were in front of him was shattered. Blood spurted everywhere as this group of cultivators was obliterated by a thought, dead, nothing remaining. Everyone around them only felt an unspeakable horror as they paled. After Futian had slaughtered these people, he disappeared again and reappeared somewhere else. It was impossible to lock on his location. After the second tribulation, Futian's Buddha's celerity was approaching perfection, and he could do whatever he wished. How could he possibly be locked down by anyone? Above the sky, Futian stood there surveying the crowd. Then he said coldly, "When I cultivated in the original realm, I had not offended anyone. But disasters came from the heavens nonetheless, as the powers of the Divine Prefecture coveted the divine treasures and tried to assassinate me many times. Now they even issued a kill order. This being the case, anyone who agreed to the kill order, let me tell you this. No matter where you are, I will end you. If you dare to harm my people in the Ziwei segmentum for your own gain, and are willing to harm the innocent to get it, don't blame me for my ruthlessness and destroy you and your clan. From today on, only killing can stop killing." Futian's icy voice resounded through the space and gave everyone chills. Today, Futian clan had issued a kill order, which was without restrictions, and took effect immediately. People from Ziwei segmentum would be killed indiscriminately. Therefore, he could only employ the most ruthless means in return to ward off these cultivators from the Divine Prefecture, to stop killing by killing, so that no one would be so bold as to risk responding to the kill order. Just as Futian's voice faded, the terrifying spatial divine light descended right away, flooding that space in an instant, tearing up that space into pieces, as if everyone in this space was condemned to die. However, Futian's figure appeared in another area, still beneath Futian city. With a wave of his hand, he claimed the lives of some more people. Another group of cultivators who had clamored to destroy Ziwei not too long ago. It seemed that for whoever dared touch him, he would retaliate immediately and unequivocally. The person who made a move before was the clan lord of the ancient god clan of Jiang. His face had a terrible look as he witnessed this scene. Futian's keen perception was terrifying beyond imagination. As soon as his will arrived, his attack followed instantly, but Futian had somehow managed to evade it immediately. This kind of precision attacks could not touch him at all to even hurt him, so their only choice was to sequester a large area to trap him within. For instance, they had sealed off the entire Futian city at this moment, and they could launch a destructive attack on the entire Futian city. But who would dare to do this? Futian's figure once again appeared in the void, facing them as he said, "You still won't unseal Futian city? Those who threaten to destroy Ziwei and kill me, remember that your faces are all imprinted in my mind. As long as I am inside Futian city, I will slowly settle these accounts with you. Since you all claimed that I killed indiscriminately, and you wanted to punish me for it, your wish is granted. Let's see how the 6 ancient god clans want to handle this." The cultivators in Futian city trembled when they heard Futian's declaration, especially the cultivators who responded to the killing order with much enthusiasm before. They were now sorely afraid. Today, Futian would stop killing by killing. In this sealed-off ancient city, he would massacre anyone who had threatened to destroy Ziwei and kill Futian. And Haotian city was sealed off by the 6 ancient god clans. Futian couldn't get out, but neither could anyone else. However, within the sealed city, no one was able to do anything to Futian. No one could have imagined that this was the situation they were facing. He came alone to face the peak giants of the 6 ancient god clans, as well as countless cultivators from the Divine Prefecture. He had launched a killing spree inside Haotian City, yet no one could stop him. The clan lord of Haotian clan and the other 5 cultivators looked pretty bad, and they were hesitating. If they were to release the seal, he could escape at any time with Futian's ability. It would almost be impossible for them to find a similar opportunity to kill Futian. Today, Futian came to slaughter them, but it was also the best chance to kill him. Would all 6 ancient god clans relent on the imprisonment and let Futian leave? Everyone in Haotian City was watching this. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Tip: you can use left, right, A and D keyboard keys to browse between chapters. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.